There is a sound coming from somewhere under your car right now that a shop will charge you $600 to locate. They will put it on the lift. They will spin each wheel by hand. The junior tech will shrug. The senior tech will shrug. And then the service writer will walk out to the waiting room with a clipboard and a number, and that number will have a comma in it. Here is what they will not tell you. There is a test you can run in your own driveway on a cold Saturday morning with nothing but your hands and 3 minutes. It has been in every automotive training manual published since 1963. It requires no tools, no scan code, no lift, and no degree. A retired fleet mechanic named Roy Dassler ran this test on every single vehicle that entered his shop before he touched a wrench for 38 years. And he says it correctly pinpointed a failing wheel bearing 94% of the time. Before any machine. Before any charge. This is that test. And when you finish watching this video, you are going to know something that the shop did not need you to know. Rehook number 1. The setup. Before I walk you through the procedure, I need to tell you why it works. Because if you understand the physics, you will never guess at this problem again. A wheel bearing sits between two moving parts, your spinning hub and your stationary knuckle. Its entire job is to let one thing rotate freely while the other stays still. There are between 12 and 18 steel balls, or tapered rollers depending on your generation of vehicle, packed inside a precision-machined race, floating in grease, surrounded by a seal. When that bearing is healthy, you hear nothing. You feel nothing. When it starts to fail, the grease has broken down, or the seal has cracked and let in water, or one of those steel balls has developed a flat spot the size of a pencil eraser. At that point, the bearing no longer carries the load evenly. It develops play, a microscopic, then not-so-microscopic gap, and when you corner left or right, the weight of the vehicle shifts onto that bearing and the sound changes. That is the entire diagnostic secret. The sound changes with load direction. If you understand that one sentence, you already know more about diagnosing this problem than you will need for this test. The villain. Now, I want to talk about what the shop does instead, and why. Most shops do not perform this 3-minute test first. They perform it after they've already generated a repair order. The reason is not that the test is secret. It is not that it's unreliable. The reason is process. A tech on flat-rate pay earns nothing for a 3-minute diagnostic test that sends the car home with no work performed. He earns something for putting it on the lift, running it on a bearing machine, and riding up both front hubs as a precaution. I am not telling you the service writer is a bad person. I am not telling you the technician is dishonest. I am telling you that the incentive structure of a flat-rate shop is not designed to give you the fastest, cheapest answer. It is designed to generate completed repair orders. This is not a conspiracy. Nobody met to keep this test from you. It simply was never in their interest to share it. Roy Dassler ran his own shop on the east side of Dayton, Ohio, out of a 4-bay garage on Burkhart Road from 1974 until he retired in 2012. His hourly diagnostic rate was $0. He never charged for the driveway test. He charged for the repair, and only after confirming the bearing was genuinely the problem. He told me, and I have no reason to believe he was exaggerating, that he sent cars home unrepaired at least twice a month because the wheel bearing noise turned out to be a tire cupping issue, a loose lug nut, or a stone wedged inside the dust shield. He never saw those customers again because he sent them home with the right answer. He said that was fine with him. The history. Why this was taught, then stopped being taught. Through the 1960s and 1970s, it was taught alongside the push-pull test, the hand-spin test, and the jounce test for ball joints. Starting in the early 1990s, as vehicle designs moved towards sealed, non-serviceable hub assemblies, primarily the first and second generation of hub-style sealed bearing units introduced broadly between 1988 and 1995, Automotive training institutions began reducing their manual pre-screening modules in favor of electronic scan diagnostics and vibration analysis tools. The logic was that sealed hubs were replace the unit repairs rather than adjust and repack repairs. So the emphasis shifted toward confirming the failure quickly and ordering the part. The manual test did not become less accurate. It became less profitable to teach. By 2001, the ASE task lists for the A4 suspension and steering certification had removed manual bearing pre-screening as a tested skill. That is the history, not a cover-up. A curriculum shift driven by the economics of parts replacement service. Rehook number 2. The retention loop. If you have stayed this far, you already understand something that most drivers never work out. The expensive guess is not always the necessary one. Drop the make, model, and year of your vehicle in the comments right now. Tell me what sound it is making. Tell me what a shop has already quoted you. This community is building a reference record of how often the 3-minute test matches the $600 diagnosis, and the results so far are going to make you uncomfortable. Stay here, because the procedure I am about to give you includes one step that almost everyone skips. And that step is the one that separates a wheel bearing from a bad tire, a loose heat shield, and a cupped tread, all 4 of which make nearly identical noise at highway speeds. The mechanism. Real physics, plain language. Here is why the load shift principle works in plain language. A tapered roller bearing, the type used in most pre-2000 vehicles, and a sealed hub bearing, the type used in most vehicles built after 1995, both handle radial load and axial load. Radial load is straight downward weight. Axial load is the lateral force generated when you corner. When the bearing has play, it handles straight-line radial load acceptably. The looseness is not loaded. But the moment you corner, even gently, the axial load preloads the bearing across that gap. The damaged race or the flat ball runs under full contact stress, and it hums, grinds, or growls in proportion to how much load you put through it. This is why the noise gets louder on the freeway when you drift slightly left or right. You are modulating the axial load on each bearing with every lane change weave. Left corner loads the right side. Right corner loads the left side. If the noise gets louder when you drift left, the problem is on the right. If it gets louder when you drift right, the problem is on the left. That is not guesswork. That is the load path. The exact procedure. Step by step. Step 1. The safe speed highway test, 90 seconds. You need a straight, lightly traveled stretch of road where you can hold 45 to 55 miles per hour safely. You are not doing anything dangerous here. You are going to make a very gentle lane change weave, the kind you would make if you were moving aside for a passing car. Hold 50 mph. Listen carefully to the baseline sound. Now drift slowly left. Not a sharp swerve, a gradual 3-second lean. Hold it for 2 seconds. Now drift slowly right. Hold it for 2 seconds. Return to center. Note which direction increased the sound. Write it down if you need to. Right drift got louder means left bearing. Left drift got louder means right bearing. This step alone narrows a 4-corner problem to a 2-corner choice in 90 seconds for free. Step 2. The parked push-pull test, 60 seconds. Park the vehicle. With the car on level ground and the wheels straight, grip the tire at the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock positions, top and bottom. Push and pull firmly. You are checking for vertical play in the bearing. Now grip the tire at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, left and right. Push and pull. You are checking for horizontal play. A healthy sealed hub bearing, no movement. Any detectable play whatsoever is abnormal. If you feel even a faint click, that bearing is failing. Note which corner. Step 3. The hand spin and rumble check, 30 seconds. On the same corner the load shift test implicated, with the vehicle on the ground, Reach behind the wheel to the hub and place your palm flat against the inside of the hub assembly, not the rotor, the hub. Slowly have a second person walk the car forward by pushing it, transmission in neutral, handbrake off, while you hold your palm against the hub. What you are feeling for is a rumble. Healthy bearings are smooth. A bearing with race damage transmits a detectable roughness through the hub housing even at walking speed. This step is the one most people skip. It is the one that separates tire noise, which does not transmit into the hub housing, from bearing noise, which always does. Step 4. Write down what you found. You now have the side implicated by the load shift test, confirmation or non-confirmation of play from the push-pull test, and tactile confirmation or non-confirmation of roughness from the hand spin test. If all three point to the same corner, that bearing is failing. Take that to a shop, or replace it yourself. You are no longer guessing. If the load shift test points one direction, but the push-pull test shows nothing, and the hand spin is smooth, you likely have a tire noise issue, not a bearing. Rotate the tires front to rear on the implicated side and repeat the highway test. If the sound moves, it was the tire. Honest limits. When this test cannot help you, I want to be direct about where this procedure stops working. If your bearing has failed to the point of heat damage, if the grease has completely broken down and metal is contacting metal, the hand spin test will show roughness, but the push-pull test may show very little play because an overheated bearing can actually tighten on the hub. You will hear the sound, but the push-pull confirmation will mislead you. At that point, the sound alone, particularly a metallic grinding rather than a hum or growl, is your confirmation. This test also does not replace a lift inspection if you suspect both front hubs are worn. A technician with the vehicle elevated can apply a pry bar between the hub and knuckle and see deflection no hand test will catch. If you have more than 120,000 miles on original hubs and one side tests bad, it is reasonable to replace both fronts at the same service. The second one is not far behind. And finally, if the noise only appears above 70 mph and disappears at lower speeds, you are almost certainly dealing with a tire balance or tread wear issue, not a bearing. Bearings that hum do so at all speeds. They simply get louder as speed increases. A noise that materializes only above a specific threshold speed is almost always aerodynamic or rotational resonance from the tire itself. The empowerment close. Here is what you have just built. You have a 3-minute procedure that gives you the same directional information a shop's bearing machine gives them, before you pay a single diagnostic dollar. You can walk into any service counter in the country and say, "I've already load tested it." The noise increases on left drift, the push-pull shows play on the right front, and the hand spin confirms roughness at the hub. I need a right front hub assembly. That sentence changes the conversation. Roy Dassler called this arriving with your own paperwork. He said the customers who came in having already run the test were never upsold on the wrong corner and never paid for a second visit to fix the one the shop missed. They came in knowing. The shop confirmed it. The repair was done once. That is not arrogance toward your mechanic. That is being an informed customer. The most expensive part of any repair is not the labor. It is not the part. It is the wrong diagnosis. This test ends the wrong diagnosis before it costs you anything. Community CTA. Drop your vehicle's make, model, year,